All right, the gentleman from New York is recognized for 5 minutes.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. Dr. McLaughlin, would you say that this bill is designed to address an urgent problem that confronts this country?
I think it is a significant problem. Regulatory accumulation, as I noted in my testimony, has been found to slow economic growth substantially, and that harms everyone.
Okay. So it's urgent because excessive regulation exists. Is that correct, in your view?
In my view, the regulatory process we have in America results in consistent accumulation over decades. There's no process for getting rid of obsolete, duplicative, outdated, or ineffective regulations, at least no streamlined process. And I guess one way to put this is an opportunity for us to improve our economy in the state at the rate at which the economy.
Well, what's the adverse impact of the outdated, cumulative, excessive regulation that you speak to that you've characterized as a significant problem? What's the impact on the economy?
Primarily, it reduces innovation and entrepreneurship. People who would have undertaken some sort of entrepreneurial endeavor, maybe it could be, for example, Logan City, Utah was going to did install micro hydropower systems in order to create some clean energy for local residents. But they ran into a lot of regulations that were duplicative and not applicable to this particular scenario, and as a result, the cost of this environmentally friendly endeavor doubled.
Okay, this is the world's most significant economy. I get that you're pointing to a situation in Logan City, Utah, and I'm sure that's a wonderful place, but I'm asking about the significant nature of the problem that you've indicated, and for you to be able to point to evidence that exists as it relates to the impact of the economy. What evidence do you have in a macroeconomic way?
Yes, sir. My testimony cites several studies that have been published in peer-reviewed academic journals, one of which is the one I cited in my testimony. However, others have been produced by scholars at the World Bank, at the OECD. The evidence is wide-ranging that a regulatory system that does not address obsolete and duplicative or ineffective regulations.
But give me an example of an ineffective regulation in the food safety area, for instance.
An ineffective regulation would be one that does not achieve its outcomes, does not have an effect.
I'm asking for an example.
I'm sorry?
Can you give me an example?
Of a regulation in food safety. I'm not an expert in food safety.
Okay. Give me an example of a regulation that fits that description of being outdated, ineffective, non-constructive in the occupational safety area.
Well, there is a regulation that I'm familiar with that is in the safety area. NHTSA, for example, requires headlights to be designed in a certain way, high beam and low beam, and the reason is you don't want the high beam to blind an oncoming driver. That regulation is, in my opinion, outdated because now adaptive headlight systems have been created, sold in Europe, sold in Asia, but not in America because this regulation prohibits them. This adaptive system would allow the high beam to be dimmed for the oncoming driver.
And your position is that, I'm sorry to cut you off, but my time is limited. Your position is that we need a presidentially sanctioned, legislatively authorized commission to deal with an outdated high beam regulation. That's essentially what you're here to testify to today?
The regulation is still impeding progress in our economy, and I'm sure that's only one of many examples that could be found were we to be able to go through all 174,000 pages.
Okay, can you give me an example in the consumer safety area of an outdated regulation that's having a devastating impact on our economy that requires us to move forward with some degree of urgency and connected with this legislation?
Sir, I think your line of questioning is actually underscoring the point that we do need to do a thorough assessment of all these regulations. There's no way I can sit here and come up with example after example after example because I have not spent my time reading all 174,000 pages of regulations. However, we have a good suspicion, I think, on both sides of the aisle for all parties involved that there are some there that could be gotten rid of and could offer chances for us.
Right, but sir, we're here to address problems that confront the American people, not enact legislation in search of a problem that heretofore, for me at least, has been ill-defined. One last question. So you took the position that you're not familiar with the fact that the Koch brothers have provided funding assistance to the center that you work for? Is that your position on the record?
We have a firewall separating research from fundraising. I'm not familiar with the details of fundraising. That's my position.
Thank you.